Hello, I'm JC Callaway, and this is my Who Is cell phone conversation.
Mr. JC, what's going on?
What's going on, Mr. Calhoun? How you doing?
I'm doing very, very well. Can you hear me well?
I can hear you very well. So how's it going down south under the shade tree where you're at?
Hey, the weather's beautiful, brother. Everything's looking good. You know, I'm smiling and enjoying myself, kicking my feet up and having a great day.
Sounds like what real winners do from time to time. All right, let's jump into this interview conversation with the first question. Where are you originally from?
I'm originally from a little small town, Oak Hill, West Virginia. I was born and raised there. Raised by my grandparents. You know, my grandparents owned little beer joints in a sense. You know, they were back in the days when bros were bros and sisters were sisters. And I learned a lot from them. You know, about how to grow up and how to be leaders and winners and all that. So yeah, Oak Hill, West Virginia.
When did you start golfing?
Well, you know, it's funny. I grew up not too far from a golf course, and my grandfather was actually very fascinated. You know, growing up in the country on a farm, my granddaddy was always fascinated by greens, how they used to cut these greens. Because this one little place that we used to drive past the golf course, there was one hole that was right next to the road, and you could always see the green. And so my granddaddy just thought that was just the coolest thing in the world. And plus I used to fish on the golf course and all that, but I never really played the game. But I really didn't get started playing golf until I actually I went to Marshall. I was going to go there. I was getting set up to play football. I tore the meniscus in my knee, and then in the process of healing, some guys turned me on to video golf. And then in the midst of playing video golf, they were like, hey, because I was beating them on video golf, they were like, hey, let's go play some real golf, and that was in Huntington, West Virginia, at a little place called Forest Hills Golf Course, little 9-hole golf course where I first started playing.
Yeah, and what was your age? How young were you?
Oh, God, so I graduated in '85, so I was like around 19, 20 years old.
So you got into golf and then you became a celebrity on the big break. What was the greatest challenge?
There was nothing that was such a great challenge or whatever, because at that time, my wife and I were living in Marietta, Ohio at the time. And through that process, it was just something that it just came at an absolute great time that, where I was teaching, I was writing, I was just putting all my notes together, I was playing golf all the time, it was just I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Where's this going to go? And then my wife and I happened to see this little commercial about the big break or whatever, and we was like, hey, I was like, man, that would be cool, and we just filled that out, and then all of a sudden everything just absolutely turned, in our favor. It was kind of like one of those God's blessings or whatever that was given to me, because I was chosen out of all the people that was there. It was like, but so far as the biggest challenge in itself, I don't think it was really no challenge, because everything that was coming to me was a blessing and a gift.
What benefits did you gain from being on the show, besides being a showman?
That's a good question. The thing is that one of the things that the people learned about me the most, probably on that big break, and even more so with the Golf Channel and everyone else, is that, like say after the show was over, certain things that happened or whatever, that people realized to me that, hey, you know what, I like to cut up and I like to be a clown and I can be silly as you need to be, but man, you better understand that, hey, every ounce of my blood, that I am doing something for a purpose. I mean exactly what I say, exactly when I do it. And all joking aside, they found out very, very fast or whatever, I am not that guy. I am not your clown. I can clown with you, but when it comes down to it, I don't stand on the back of the bus for nobody.
What's your biggest challenge being a professional black teaching pro?
Biggest challenge being a professional teaching pro is people understanding or learning or the mindset of this stereotype of that black teachers are not at the level of other teachers. That's been the biggest. That's the biggest challenge, and the biggest problem with that is not from who you would think, but the biggest one, it comes from our own people, in the sense that understanding that knowledge is something in essence of whatever that is prevalent for every man. Nobody has them. I use a quote all the time. Nobody has a monopoly over knowledge. You know, anybody can sit down. Sit down and write and read and learn what it is. Some of the greatest equations that's ever been written in history is from people who just maybe had your basic mathematic book or something. I mean, history speaks of that. And one of the biggest things that we overlook and we fail to understand, and I use this quote all the time, especially as black folks or whatever, we spend too much time talking about what we don't have and then didn't give ourselves enough time to realize what we do have.
And what do we have with you for golfers who are trying to improve their game?
Talent, ability, know-how, strength, gut, discipline, respect, honor, black, dressing. You can just go down the list of what bros have. But the only thing that too many of these bros today, they got to sit around and ask permission to be who they are, and that makes no sense to me. You know, it makes no sense to me.
Ask who permission?
The world, the man.
The man? What man are you talking about? The big man in the sky?
The man? When I mean the man, and I tell people all the time, when I mean the man, I mean who's in charge. That's the man. You become in charge of what, as I always say this, you know, always set yourself up to be a seat at the table. Make something about you worthy enough to be a seat at the table. Because if you're not a part of the equation, if you're not making yourself a part, or you're not doing the things to make yourself a part of the equation, then you just get lost in, as they say, you just get lost in transition.
Mm-hmm.
Or,
lost in the shuffle.
Translation.
Lost in translation, huh? Well, I think that would be very hard, not impossible.
Exactly. I mean, what do you get out, like, real talk, bro? What do you get out of life if you're not willing to speak up? Now, here's, like I call all these cats voice changers. You know what I mean? You see me do the conversation. I call these cats voice changers. Why am I going to teach golf for 32 years, excellent at what I do, an excellent player, and I got to debate with 20 and 19 handicaps? That's an insult to me.
Is it insulting because you're teaching a top-down swing that is in contradictory with all the other regular swing? And what makes your top-down swing so special?
Well, I'll definitely tell you that, but the biggest problem is an insult to me because you can't play. If you're a 19-20 handicap, I got 700 videos of me hitting it right-handed, left-handed, cross-handed. I got receipts on numbers I done shot. I don't care if I played bad in one tournament or something of that nature. You a 19-20 handicap, you can't play. Only thing you doing is copying what somebody else is saying, and then you out of step. Now, what makes top down something special? What makes top down something special? And I tell you the truth, it's just called anatomy. Simple fact is, you heard me say it many, many times throughout our conversation, that you can lift your hands in the air and turn your hips as much as you want, roll your ankles, whatever. You will never, ever trigger anything in the lower body that will make the arms come down. But unfortunately, a lot of people are just and I call it cognitive dissonance. A lot of people get so enamored of what someone else is saying, especially black teachers and especially brothers. We get so locked in what everybody else is saying that we don't take the time to say, hey, wait, let me check them and see if they are correct. Because for some reason, it ain't helping black golfers. And if you just did statistics and put a bunch of people together and say, hey, y'all go do this, and you got an equal amount of people, in each category, statistically, there will be an equal amount of people that would excel regardless, because the number says that people like data, that it would excel, that this number of people would be out there on the tour. I think I did something like that based on what I was doing. I said there should be at least 15, 25 at least bros out there playing on the tour. Back on the day, when everybody was together and listening to one another, all of a sudden we had that. So what Top Down does? Top Down teaches you how to do what the body is telling you to do. It's not predicated on someone's belief. See, what I'm doing is not based on my belief. That's what I keep telling them. It's not what I believe. It's what the body is telling me to do. That when I lift my arms, the scapula lifts. And when I drop my arms, it triggers the rest of the body to move. Why? Because the most non-negotiable move to hit a golf ball is this. The club must go up in the air. It must come back down, and it must go back up after the strike. That's just common sense, and nothing can supersede that.
Compared to what else is being taught? What are you comparing it to?
In comparison, what's being taught and also being said is this, and don't get me wrong, and one of my strengths of it, why I can write top down and I can speak about top down, because from doing it from the ground up and starting the hips to try to turn the body, I did that for almost 20 years.
And what happened when you did it for 20 years?
It would never match up. It was always a constant. Turning my grip. Every single day it seemed like I was turning a new way of gripping it to try to get the club face to match. Because if I lifted weights and my hips slowed down, then all of a sudden my timing wasn't there. Then I had to stop lifting. And then all of a sudden when I stopped lifting or something, then okay, I get my timing. And then all of a sudden something else goes wrong because I'm on an unlevel lie or something of that nature. It was always a constant trying to fix and repair over and over and over. And after a while, it just got too much where you were relying on other things other than your golf swing.
I can attest to that, brother. I've hit a lot of golf balls in my days, and I experienced all of that you just mentioned. So what's the dead finger grip all about, which I nicknamed the Calhoun dead finger grip? And what are the benefits of using that grip opposed to the popular grips that are already known?
Well, it's just like anything that, look, the dead finger is so powerful. And it says, and as I tell people who haven't gotten that book, you need to go get that book. And at least, let me tell you what, for the money that you're spending on the golf lessons, the $20 that you spend to buy that book, it will give you the best golf lesson that you've ever had in your life. The most important thing about this book is this. And this is the power of, as I said, about the ability as bros to be able to use their mind, quit being followers, and start learning how to be leaders, is this. It's because what I just now described to you there, I kept saying that, man, every grip position that I'm making is always conducive to the hip action, what I'm doing with my hips and all of this stuff and da-da-da-da-da. You know how that goes. And I said, but it's not conducive to what's really happening or what's swinging the club, which is your shoulder girdle, arms, arm assembly, and all of that. But what the most important thing is about the dead finger in that book is this. There's never been a book written in the history of golf other than something talking about the mental side of the game of golf. But from the physical standpoint of the game of golf, there's never in the history of this game that I know of 400 years of this game, that anyone has ever written a book, and especially a book about the grip, which is our only connection to the golf club, that transcends itself to the other sports. In other words, whether you play baseball, whether you play in basketball, whatever it is, the dead finger is the weakest finger on your hand. And because of that, it must get strength from all the others. And when the other hands try to overtake that and don't use it, then all of a sudden your hand is completely out of sequence. The thumb is pulling too much. The pinky is pulling too much. Well, it's just a constant battle back and forth. So what the dead finger does, because it gets its strength from the forearm, and as I write in my book, is the gateway to the forearm. Once you align them on that golf club first, then all of a sudden the rest of the hands fall in place. And here's the beauty of it. It doesn't create just a grip. It creates a housing just like the ping man. So all you have to do is adjust the face. So once you have the grip correct and it's locked in, then just like the ping man, you just punch a button and it swings. Well, because the shoulder girdle and the arm assembly swings top down, then all you got to do is learn how to swing and then make the lower body adjust to it.
Once again, personally, I have to attest to the Calhoun dead finger grip because I got your book and studied it and used the dead finger technique, and it has helped my swing considerably, I must admit.
Well, JC, you understand now. I want people to pay attention to these words. This is where the confusion come in. Where no different when I just now said, when you've heard everybody, you got to turn your hips to swing your arms, which is anatomically impossible to turn your hips to swing your arms. It just don't work that way. We just accepted that because of names or whoever the deal is, and and the best players do it, but then you all of a sudden you see them, so many of them, the can't misses, missing way wide and right. You know what I mean? But the one thing about it, just taking a grip. Oh, you want to have balance in your grip. Well, you explain to me, how can you have balance in your grip when you got pressure with 3 fingers and then pressure with 3 on one hand and 2 on the other? Now, ain't no way in the world you're going to have balance with 3 and 2. If you add them up, they equal 5, and ain't nothing about 5 even.
What are some of the arguments against your dead finger grip?
There is no argument against it because once you do it, it speaks for itself. There is no argument against it. The argument is against me.
Do you feel like you are the most hated man in the online black golf community?
Brother, let me just put it this way. If they needed to find a way to bring race relations together, all they got to do is give me a platform, because I have black teachers and white teachers hating me all the same. They'll come together just to come against me, but they can't handle me because I don't run. You know what I mean? I don't run from nobody. I sit there and answer every question or whatever, and I keep going until I break you.
And why are they so against you? I see and read a lot of the comments on your posts, and I noticed that there's a lot of people that's really against what you're teaching, and a lot of those comments are really ugly. Is it because they perceive you as arrogant and cocky, or is it something else?
Because they want to be me, and they can't be me. That's the real truth. And what I mean by they want to be me and can't be me, because they sit back, hey, listen, and as I told the one boy or whatever, I said, ain't nothing wrong with being the help. I said, the world needs ditch diggers. Ain't nothing wrong with it. You calling people out or whatever and talking about what you can do. But when I tell you, when I put you to the test or whatever, then you can't do nothing. So all they're doing, see, as I'm sitting back here, kind of hiding back in my scene, and I'm not, blowing back, blasting or whatever. And it says you don't see me hanging around the superstars or whatever and all this stuff. You don't see me with the greatest social media post or whatever. I don't always cross my T's or dot my I's or whatever. So, so they pass judgment on me in a sense, because they pass judgment on me based on what they do themselves, because they're comparing themselves to what they see in the establishment, not paying attention that I'm not trying to be in a part of the establishment. Why? Because I got something tangible to give them.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but is it one of your goals and or ambition is to be a coach for the so-called elite players?
That's the only goal, bro. That's the only goal. Look, bro. Look, I got tour players. I got tour players that I work with, a couple young aspiring tour players that I work with, and I love them to death. But they have no clue about what to be. Just not forget golf. They don't have no clue about how to be a professional. If you got a coach, then, you got to talk to your coach. You got to tell your coach what's going on. You know what I mean? If you don't want to work with your coach, then you got to have the guts to be able to tell your coach, well, hey, coach, this ain't working for me. I'm going to go on to something else, or I'm going to do something else or whatever, and I be trying to, I'm just like, oh, man, y'all, you all want to be professionals, and you're not even close to being a professional as outside of golf. You don't even know what a professional is. And then I have to put people in their place and tell them, I wake up every single day, JC, every single day, because I've done this. I made this for myself. I am a teaching professional at the Marriott Grand Vista. I do not work for Marriott. I own and operate my teaching business there under the shade tree. I show up exactly when I want to. I do not give lessons. My lessons start at 11 o'clock. If you want a lesson at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock, then you're going to have to go see somebody else. My lessons start at 11 o'clock, and that's when I give my lessons, because I'm telling you right now to let you know, you're not in control. I am in control. I am the teacher. The teacher, when you go to high school, the teacher said the class starts at 8, then you need to be there at 8. On their time, not your time. I'm not there for your time. You are here on my time for me to teach you the best that I can. And if you come with a mindset ready to be a winner, then I will teach you how to be a winner. Because why? I'm already a winner. And these young brothers coming, these egos like they're so successful. Brother, I don't see one of y'all with your bags on Sunday. If you want to talk about professional golf, I'm more professional than you all are. I'm more successful than you all are. Why? I got books. I got people all over the world reading my materials, sending me money day in and day out for my knowledge. And you're more professional than me? Get out of here, man. Get your game in order, because this is why you can't be a professional. This is why you can't make it, because you don't have your mind right. You can't be a professional golfer at the highest level if you don't have your mind right. In other words, if you can't see the people who are successful, then there's a problem.
And I want to throw this question in at this time is, what's your opinion on why we don't see black golfers on the PGA Tour?
Because they don't know how to get there. And a whole bunch of them brothers that's teaching them don't know how to get them there. Because they don't know the formula to get them there, JC. And a formula from people that they think's going to get them there, because all of a sudden John Foley got with Tiger Woods, and now he's got 10,000 people coming to him. And out of those 10,000, one or two is going to get there. Because if you work hard enough, you're going to get there. You got a little bit of name, so you're going to get input from people to say, do this, do this, do this, do this, or whatever. So you're going to get, once you get into the clique, then all of a sudden you get people that start telling you what you need to do. You think John Foley was telling Tiger Woods what he needed to do to be a better professional? Oh, hell no. Hank Haney? No. Chris Como? No. Tiger was telling Hank, come on, man. Tiger was telling them, because he's the ultimate professional. He was telling them what to do. So it's some people who bought into that. Now, don't get me wrong. Those guys are good salesmen, because they are telling those other people what Tiger probably was telling them, in the sense, and some people bought into it. You see what I mean? And so when people easier buy into, well, if Tiger said it and they was with Tiger, then they'll buy into it. Unfortunately, as bros, especially as black golfers, see, what we do, we don't buy into our own. See, they don't understand how this game is played. They understand, oh, if I go out here and I swing this and I do this or whatever, man, that's not how you be a professional. Look, I tell you right now, and I said this to even some of my tour players. I said, I've seen plenty of you brothers with amazing golf swings. But if I had your golf swing with my mind, there ain't no way in the world I wouldn't be on tour.
There was a black teaching pro at Rancho Park named Earl English, and he showed me a lot of shots, and he showed me one particular shot to hit with the sand wedge and put a little check on it, and I didn't know anything about that. And after he got through, he said, a brother don't know nothing, though. And, of course, he was being sarcastic, but maybe some feel that there's some truth about that.
From Michael Blade to all of them, they can talk all they want, from what's his name, John Montgomery, Collins, and all of them. None of them know. You know why they don't know? Because here's what you need. Look, this is what you need to get to the tour. You got to be able to hit a shot, because the Hall of Fame is full of them. Hit one single shot every single day, all day, every day. Master that one shot over and over. And you got to hit thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of that same exact shot. Man, these guys hit 3-4 shots, and the next thing they do, they only phone, bro. That's the biggest lie in the world. They ain't all coming from these great academies. When I sit down and listen to some of my Argentina bros that tell me about what goes on in Argentina in certain places, it's like it makes no sense. They're coming from thousands of miles away and being successful in our country, and we live right down the road, and we can't be successful because we spend too much time worrying about what we don't have and not paying attention to what we do have. And it requires discipline to sit there and hit the same shot over and over and over and over and over. It requires discipline. And ain't none of these bros, and I'm going to say it right now, and ain't none of these bros that I've seen got the discipline to do it.
Well, I attest to that it takes a lot of discipline and it takes more than money to get out there to perform well. What would an elite PGA player get if they were struggling with their game and they needed a coach and they decided to take you on as a coach?
They're going to get peace and quiet. And you know what I mean why they're going to get peace and quiet? Because I'm going to bring them back to what golf is about. Because, see, I'm an old schooler. And I believe is that if I can't do it myself, why in the world am I trying to teach you? Now, I may not be able to sit there and step in the arena because maybe that grind ain't in me like it used to be or whatever. But I'm tell you what, I can stand over a shot and hit it when I need to hit it. So peace and quiet come from the simple fact is, and I always say this, any elite player come to me, first and foremost, we're going to hit balls.
Can you be a little bit more specific? That's kind of vague.
When a lot of the white guys that you see on tour, and a lot of them will tell you this, when they saw the best players playing or whatever the deal is, majority of the time they didn't ask them no question because, one, they were intimidated to say something to them. Going back to Bobby Jones and Stuart Maitland, who was his, or whatever, a lot of times they just watched them and just copied them. Bobby Jones just basically copied. And you learn. You shut up. You learn how to just swing and hit. Feel the rhythm. Just hit balls. Sometimes when you just quiet your mind and sit back and just hit, because there's nothing more beautiful to tell you how swing that sound of that golf ball, hearing that sound of that golf ball. And the sound of that golf ball is what allows your body to continuously create a rhythm. I don't care if you got this. I don't care if you think you're swinging top down, you're swinging ground up, whatever the deal is. Once you hear the sound of that golf ball, that tick, 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 over and over, subconsciously, because of our senses, believe it or not, a sound in itself is so powerful because it lets you know. It lets you be free. No different when you know you're throwing 100 miles an hour and you hear that. When that ball hit that glove, you know you're in heat. When you hit the sound, when that sound of that ball coming off that bat, you know you hit it over the fence. It's just the essence of bringing that elite player in there and calming their minds down. And the best way you can calm your mind down is silence.
So, real briefly, what would you tell an elite player that's struggling out there right now?
Quiet your mind. Quiet your mind. Look, quiet your mind so much that you can literally hear your blood flowing through your veins. And JC, I look at it like this, is that you're going to come to me because I give you something or whatever. You ain't going to come to me just because, oh, I got this in my swing. I got this. Because you're not an elite player unless you know how to swing a golf club. Sometimes, you take a player that all of a sudden he goes to a teacher and they go, oh, man, that teacher did a great job. Oh, man, it's amazing. Like people go to books. Maybe it's simply because you stopped working. And then all of a sudden you go to a new teacher and you start putting the work back in and then your talents go. See, the only thing a golf instructor can do with an elite player is screw up his golf swing. And you've seen many of them do that. But I've learned through experience in life, bruh, that we find out who we truly are in the sense once we learn how to quiet our mind. It's been proven thousands and thousands of years or whatever. that once we learn how to quiet our mind, we end up finding the best of who we are. And that's all a lot of these players need. They need to quiet their mind. And once they got their minds quiet, in a sense, and you got them that, and sometimes, and I learned this in golf, sometimes the best way to quiet your mind is to sit back and do nothing with your teacher and hit golf balls. And get back to feeling, that's where the fun is. Get back to feeling like that night, evening, or whatever, and you only got 15 balls left or whatever, and and now you're going through your real purpose or your real routine because the range is getting ready to close, and it's almost going back to the movie Rocky. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to go back and smell the sweat. We got, like a guy once said, was one of my best quotes: high technology and low results.
And that's a lesson within itself. And I have experienced those meditative moments of silence. And it is a great experience. And it does help to enhance the practice session. It was really a pleasure talking to you. And I hope to take lessons from you sometime. And I suggest to everyone to get his 2 books, Golf Grip for Success and The Dead Finger and Middle Wrist in Sports, which I call the Calhoun Dead Finger Grip. And thank you very much, Mr. Calhoun, Charles Calhoun, and I appreciate you.
Well, JC, I appreciate you having me on here, and that was a beautiful thing. And and I'm glad that there was just one of these great days or whatever that I could absolutely be G-rated.
Well, you have to be, because we have to put this on YouTube.
Hey, but I'll tell you like this, and I'll leave you with this one, JC. Top down is the place to be. We turning 4 strokes into 3. Under the shade tree is where you need to do or where you need to be to get with me. And as they say, Charles Calhoun, a.k.a. the Shade Tree Pro, always good golfing.
All right, we'll leave it at that, the Poetic Teaching Pro.
All right, brother.
I appreciate you.
All right, bye.
Conversation with JC Callaway.